Hello, let's use Jupiter stationing days to talk about Mars retrograde, shouldn't we? Why is that important? Well, and why is it connected? That's a better question. Well, there's a lot of connection because when Jupiter is my personal planet of luck and optimism and not losing faith and also having your own truth and belief and intuition, right? And we've had the chance with Jupiter retrograde to reflect a lot about our own truth, our personal truth, but also our connection to our own belief and faith and optimism, which in 2020 is probably one of the things that keeps us alive, right? To have some sort of optimism, to know that there's a bigger picture to all of the craziness and that we shouldn't give up on hope and connection and our own personal truth and resonance, right? To not get lost in the distraction of the world. And that's so important, I feel like, for the next couple of weeks when we are faced with Mars retrograde and a lot of things might not work out and we might we might be triggered a lot, or we might face challenges and again things not working out, and we might feel like we have to push so hard and nothing goes right, and it's frustrating, of course it is. But then what we really are asked to do is to step more into our truth and faith and belief and trust, right? Trust is probably one of the biggest words that I can associate with Jupiter, right? Because thanks to him, I was able to survive all of the things in my life that never worked out the way I wanted them to. And especially this last couple of, or this last year really, and I shared about that in my last podcast episode relative to dating and love and relationships. I was faced with a lot of challenges and rejection and things not working out the way I wanted them to work out, and I'm born with a Moon Neptune conjunction, so I'm really I always have these fairy tales in my mind, which is good for my work because I am a really imaginative person, so I have a really vivid imagination, right? And I'm really clairvoyant, so I see all of these timelines in my head, and I think that I can instantly tap into them. And so when it doesn't happen in the physical sense, in this physical world, I made it mean something about me. But then Jupiter comes into play and reminds me that there's always a higher timeline and my soul always has my back. And that brings me even to a YouTube video that I filmed where I explain more about the concept of retrogrades, that it's really all about stepping into the opposite side, which is basically Mars in Aries. So we look at Libra and Venus, right? And what is Venus all about? It's all about surrendering. It's all about flowing. It's all about allowing instead of pushing. And when Mars is retrograde, we really want to lean more into allowing things to happen, not feeling like we have to do all the things ourselves, right? Which can be really exhausting and draining. And we've been depleted energetically anyways in 2020, so why do we want to spend even more energy pushing for something that might not even be the right thing for us? And that's why I wanted to film this video too, because things probably won't go the way we wanted them to go, right? And maybe our plan for our whole life will be shattered because it's actually divine protection, right? It's divine protection because your soul already has something even better for you planned. And that's where Jupiter comes into place, to trust that. Even though you might not see it now, you might not know how, you might not know where, you might not know what, right? But trusting, right? Trusting that the universe has your back and is supporting you all the way, right? Even when right now it doesn't look like that. Not giving up on hope and trust. And as a Sag rising, I feel like that's my, and Sag North Node actually, it's my biggest mission to show everyone that there is magic everywhere, that you don't, like, you're not left behind by the universe. You're not, right? And then every given moment, especially when we have so many retrogrades, what we can do is to turn inward and tap into our connection to ourselves and our soul, right? And so that's one thing I think that will guide us through this Mars retrograde, when things again won't turn out the way we wanted them to turn out, when we have to come up with a different plan, we have to reevaluate our actions, and we might change our whole life, right? But that's only natural because 2020 brought us closer to our soul. It brought us closer to our true desires, to our true values, to all of these things. And naturally, when we come closer to something that we didn't even know before, maybe existed, right? Naturally, we have to change our actions. That's so normal. So it's not something bad, right? It's just obviously scary because we've never done that before, right? And so, whenever you take a risk, whenever you step outside of your comfort zone, out of the familiar territory, if you want to say it like that, it's challenging. But again, that's when Jupiter comes into play again and says, hey, you can trust, right? As long as you stick to your intuition and your resonance, you can trust. And that's my biggest I guess mission and piece of advice for this Mars retrograde. When things don't turn out, listen to this video, maybe save it, and I promise you, you won't give up hope and you won't give up optimism. And when you buckle up and you stick to that and you stick to the things that feel right to you, right, intuitively, you will always end up in the most magical circumstances and places, right? Because it's all just for you to learn. It's nothing against you. When things don't work out, it's divine protection because your soul is already orchestrating something even better, maybe, and you don't know, right? So get out of your own way, reevaluate your action, do your homework, and turn more so into flow. And see, that's the flower of life guiding me during this time. And I'm sending you so much magic. Definitely listen to the podcast as well. And don't be triggered. The universe has your back and your soul has the master plan.